We got Fed Chair Powell today. I talked about it in my other video, so I'll be brief here. If you want to hear more details about the Fed, link today's video at the end of this one. We got more bullish signals with the S&P. We're getting more bullish signals with Bitcoin. Honestly, it was a dovish pause. The Fed pretty much effectively ended quantitative tightening. They reduced it down from 25 billion down to 5 billion. So again, this is going to end at the next meeting, maybe the one after that. I told you I was looking for it to end at this meeting or the next one. You know, maybe it goes another two possibly, but basically this is bullish. And again, they're reducing this concerns about the economy. This could help the market, and also the market's reasoning. Again, as I keep saying, oh, gee, quantitative tightening's coming to an end. Maybe we'll get QE back. You know, that's their way of thinking. Bitcoin's getting all kinds of bullish things happening as we're wrapping up this session here for Wednesday, moving on into the Thursday session. I'll show you that in just a moment. But basically, the Fed reduced the amount of growth to 1.7. They increased the amount of inflation from 2.5 to 2.8%. So they increased the inflation target, they reduced the growth, and they still kept the cut. So the market got a sigh of relief right there. They greatly reduced the quantitative tightening. So it was a dovish pause, but they did some bearish things. They increased the inflation and they reduced the growth. Now, again, we're in options expiration week here. And again, we're likely going to see a bottom try to form. Again, stock market, they're going to go from the shorts back to the longs, and we're probably going to see a run up, and we're going to see the same thing here with Bitcoin. But it is options expiration week, so do keep that in mind. Now, I've been having an issue with my cable cord here for my microphone. Bought a brand new one, and it was defective. I went out and tried to buy a good quality one, but the stores to replace this, but couldn't find it. Went everywhere. Couldn't find something of really good quality, so I had to buy it online. So it'll come shortly. Here's some popping and crackling. I'm sorry. I just bought a cord, brand new. The cord. It was a good cord, but it was defective. So I appreciate your patience with me on that matter. Trying to play with it, get it to work better, but again, only found a couple of stores with what I was looking for, and just couldn't find what I needed. The Bitcoin price, we had the triangle go sideways, and it evolved into this bull flag, and it's now breaking out with the Fed, and we're up sharply. Again, we've had this bullish divergence going on. I told you Bitcoin had all kinds of bottoming signals. Now we're getting, again, this push above the 200-day and the daily, and we're moving towards the 200 here in the 4-hour time frame and towards our trend line right here. The bullish divergence is playing out. Again, you can see it right there on the MACD, and currently Bitcoin's up over 4% right now. As I'm making the videos, we're going into close. We're at 4.32% at the moment. And I expect Bitcoin is going to confirm the bottoming tail off the 50-period moving average this week. And then I think we're headed up towards this upper channel line. We've turned off of the trend line right here that I think from the 2021 low, which I told you that's why I predicted the December top and the January top because of that level. I think we're building momentum to clear that level when we're coming up into this area. I think that's going to take Bitcoin to 135, 145,000, depending on when we come into contact with that trend line. We could do it quickly. We could take our time. But I think you're going to form this massive negative divergence on the RSI. I think you're going to turn up here. You're going to get a lower high, and Bitcoin will be up here at this trend line, and then that's going to be it. And Bitcoin will top. And when we get there, nobody's going to say it's a top. Dropped 30%, and again, we're very depressed. Now we're going to see a rebound. The sentiment is going to turn back to bullish very quickly, and then the moon boys is going to be slapping each other on the back, and everybody's going to be all happy when we get up there, but they're not going to sell up there. They're going to hang on to it and ride it all the way down with the next bear market. That's what they always do. When we get up there, they're going to go, oh, don't sell your Bitcoin to the whales. They just want your Bitcoin. It's going to 250,000, 500,000, 750,000, and they'll start, no, you're wrong. It's going to 1 million, and they'll start with these crazy targets again. And I have a realistic target, the trend line. That's my realistic target. I was listening to this one moon boy, or looking at this one moon boy on social media, he's saying, by the end of April, we're gonna be at 300,000. I mean, they just get the, so in 6 weeks we're gonna be at 300,000. Just out of touch with reality. That's what these guys do. Again, be looking for that divergence, be looking for a move up to the trend line, but then we're going to top, and then we're going to have a recession. And Bitcoin's going to have a wrecking ball taken to it because a recession is going to happen. I remain bullish. I'm extremely bullish off the 50-period moving average. We're at major support. Again, I've been bullish since February 28th when we had the first bottom. Again, extremely bullish on Bitcoin, but we're going to top. And again, I'm going to flip the trade up there. The herd won't do that. They're going to hang on to it, and they'll ride it all the way down. We're going to come back and take out these lows and take out these lows, and eventually get a massive sell-off, and they are going to ride it all the way back down. Bitcoin's got this bull flag going into the trend line. This is a daily chart. Bitcoin's average price. We lose that, that's going to be extremely bearish. We're bouncing off of it. That's extremely bullish. You're eventually making your way back up here to the 50, to the trend line, and again, eventually we'll likely pull back off of that level and then break out and move to a new high above 109,000. And again, it can happen quickly. It can happen over the next several weeks, going into April, into early May or something, or it could take a couple of months, but it's going to happen. But we're rallying now, and we were told this wasn't going to happen. No, we were going to have Bitcoin crash, and herd turns bearish at the bottom. The bears go crazy, and they start telling us after the crash has happened, they start telling us, no, it's going to keep going. And again, we're bottoming out. Okay, and my signals, which are correct, are again now flipping to bullish. So I'm making the video. Bitcoin is up 4.42%, almost 4.5%. I told you again, this is likely a bullish divergence marking a bottom. It's going to take us back up to the trend line, back up to the 50, back up to the resistance zone, which is again the peak right here and the peak right here. And you're likely coming up to this area. And if we have our 100 above that or cloud above that, again, you're likely headed to this area. Maybe you break through the trend line and you back test it. Maybe you stall at the trend line and you pull back. But you're likely headed to this 50 period, and then you're going to get some kind of pullback, overthrowing it or at it. But you got the resistance zone right there with the trend line and the 50 period. So we'll be watching. Again, we likely have a wave 1 and a 2 done. And we're likely in this wave 3 of our first wave higher. So I think you're going a whole lot higher. I think you're going to recover. But then you got the resistance above this area, the cloud, horizontal resistance, to eventually come back up and challenge the 109,000 peak, where we had these negative divergences at that trend line of resistance in the weekly time frame. I talked about that at great length and detail. So again, I was able to call those tops and got bearish at those peaks at the trend line, but then we're going to sell off. I thought we'd see the January low likely hold. We didn't. Continued to be bearish, and we continued to drop. But then I got very, very bullish down here. Tried to play support. That didn't play out. Not every trade's going to work out. So now trying these trades, playing out beautifully. Over here at the 200 first initially began to build the position here. Got aggressive here. And then again right here. And then again here at the bottom here. All these people angry that we're testing the 200 period. It's a test, and now we're surging above that 200 period. Again, likely marking this as a bottom with this bullish divergence. And I told you, again, we had the small little bullish divergence here. I told you we might have a bottom here. I thought we did. And I told you that, again, if we didn't, we would go back and form a bullish divergence, a larger one on the RSI. And we went $1,500 lower than that. We couldn't close below it. And now you're getting back above the 200. So again, my signals, which are correct, are now flipping back to bullish. The bottoming signals at these lows, then the momentum flipped back to bullish. I told you that. And then now we're seeing the trend signals begin to turn back to bullish. And you're going to see more and more of them turn back to bullish. MACD's turned up. You got a Class B divergence there where you got really almost two equal bottoms on the MACD and the RSI, or the stochastics, moving towards 50. Now, as Bitcoin has about, we're in the last hour of trading right now. You're up now over 4.5% on Bitcoin. So again, looking for a solid close above the 20 period, as I've talked about. The 20 period is a blue line, and a solid close above the 200 period moving average. And if you do that, again, it's likely marking this as a bottom. Again, we've got all these bullish signals. These bottoming signals have formed. on Bitcoin, we had this double bottom. And again, we saw the momentum signals flip. Now we need to see these trend signals flip. But look at what's happening. We're seeing the bars reflecting the trend. We're seeing the bars now turn back to green. They've been red. We had a fake signal right here. Couldn't flip it. Turned right back and reverted right back to red the very next bar. Okay? And again, bars have been consistently bearish since the bearish signals at the top. Now they're flipping back to bullish after the bullish signals at the bottom. Here's our Bitcoin average price, bouncing and holding above that. You drop below that, that's extremely bearish if you can't get back above it. You're bouncing off of it, that's extremely bullish. Bitcoin's bottoming. The stock market is likely going to follow Bitcoin's lead. Now we're trying to clear the 200. I told you, we had these bottoming signals. We had it over here at the first bottom. Okay, over there on February 28th, and then we got it here on March 11th. And I told you I thought the March 11th low was the bottom because, again, you've got the divergences now complete that I talked about on the RSI and momentum and other indicators. But you had these other bottoming signals, and now the S&P is getting them and NASDAQ's getting them. But then I told you, you get these bottoming signals. The next thing you had to see happen was you had to have momentum flip. Well, what's happening right now? Momentum is flipping. Did you see that right there? We stalled up at 200. The momentum started to flip. Now we're getting, and it tried to turn down right here yesterday, but it's turning right back up. Look at the little arrow. And the momentum did not change. Now we're going to see the trend signals begin to change. Got to get back above the upper boundary of the cloud. We got to see these signals begin to turn back to bullish. And that's going to happen one by one. You're getting the bar turning back to green now. The bottoming signals followed by the bullish momentum, and then I told you to watch for the trend signals to turn, and that is now starting to happen. But you got to get back above the 200 period, which we're doing right now, and we're going to have a close above it, obviously, by the end of the session here, which is we're in the final hour of the trading right now for the Wednesday session. See momentum try to flip with Bitcoin futures. We gapped higher and we're trying to flip the cloud right here. Again, we've had the green awesome oscillator bars. We're above the 10 period as of yesterday. Say that because we're in the brand new session, the Thursday session. As of the Wednesday session, we got back above the 10 period, and now we're getting above the 20, and we're flipping. We're trying to flip it to bullish. So we'll see if the momentum here flips to bullish, and if you do that, then again, that's going to be extremely bullish for Bitcoin. We go back up towards 50 period moving averages here with futures. It's right there, Bitcoin futures. Remember all the bears told us that this rally wasn't going to happen, and when we did, they said the CME gap, and then we're going to collapse. Well, what happened? We came back down. We went slightly lower than that level. We bounced off the 200 here with Bitcoin futures. The Bitcoin price dropped below 200, but now it's getting back above it. But again, they're going to do the same nonsense. And you're likely going to go up. You're going to stall around the 50 or just above the 50 pullback, but eventually you're likely going to go to the new highs. Again, I've remained extremely bullish on Bitcoin. But again, my plan is that it's going to go to my target level, and then I'm going to sell and I'm going to flip the trade. That's my plan. The herd won't do that. They'll continue to be bullish. They're flipping back to bullish here. Signals will turn back to bullish. They'll start changing their sentiment. They were very, very bearish at these lows. And again, that's why I told you a bottom was forming, because the herd got so bearish. They weren't bearish up here. They love buying tops and selling bottoms. That's what they do best. But the herd, you're going to see sentiment get very, very bullish here. And then, we're going to go up and make a top, and they're going to tell us, no, that's not the top. And the next sell-off that's coming, once we peak out, is going to make this look like a church picnic. It's going to be very ugly. And we'll have a drop in about 2 months of 50% or more to get the next major sell-off. But we've just had a major bottom develop here, and now we're going to go make new highs. We saw the bottoming signals with Bitcoin. We saw the momentum begin to flip. Now it's trying to flip with Bitcoin futures with the bullish reversal of conditions, but we need to see momentum flip on signals and flip all the red back to green. And we're starting to see a little bit of that here, but we need more of that. And again, if we get a follow through to today's rally, you're likely going to see a lot of it before the week ends. Now here, I programmed the bars to flip when the trend changes. There can be false moves like over here and over here, but again, it quickly reverts back to the trend if it's a false move. Here, we're getting this bullish signal, okay? But we got to see the line begin to turn back to blue, and then we got to see the background begin to turn back to validate it back to green. Here, when things turn bearish, bars turned red, and it was validated right after that, okay? Here, things turned bearish, and again, the line turned bearish right after that, after the bar turned red, and we began to see the weakness. So again, we've had this downtrend. It's likely flipping now with the green cloud. This is what I told you to be watching for, the trend signals to begin to turn, and I think that's what we have right here. But there's still more work to be done. In the next session or two, we're going to see the background begin to turn back to green if this is valid, and we'll begin to see the line begin to turn back to blue. We'll validate a change in momentum, or I should say a change in the trend, the momentum spilling over and changing the trend. Bitcoin daily chart here. Getting a bunch of bullish signals, getting one right here as we're getting this move right here, had one over here, but it failed, and now we're getting another one. Had these levels mark the top. So again, need to see right here, we need to see the bars right here begin to turn back to green. We don't have that yet right here. Well, we do have that on the daily chart. But the bullish signals I've been warning you about are now playing out. And again, bottom signal here, bottoming signal here. Again, now playing out very nice signals at the top and the lower high. This is a failed signal right here, but these bottoming signals are likely going to play out and produce a reversal. That's what's happening right now, getting above the 200 period on the daily time frame. The same thing here. We got to see bars begin to flip back to green. We're getting it in the daily time frame. We need to see it intraday. Again, looking for that bottoming tail we had last week to be confirmed this week at the 50-period moving average. And it was the EMA and the SMA. We bounced off at the EMA. We bounced off of it here and back over here. We're bouncing off the trend line from the 2023 low. You got a bull flag. You're likely headed up here. You'll stall at the trend line, likely pull back, and then bust up through it. And again, that could be surrounding good tariff news or Europe coming to the negotiating table or whatever in the coming days ahead. Again, but we're likely going to see a massive rally to new highs up to the upper channel line I've been talking about in my videos. We're getting a big rally, and in the last hour of trading here, and again, it looks like we might try to flip some of these clouds here. This one right here. We're coming up and trying to push just above it now. So again, we could see the cloud begin to flip very, very soon for the weekends. But again, I think the big thing is we're seeing the bars in the daily time frame flip back to green. This is a very positive sign if they can remain that way, and we can get more of this red going away and getting more green with a powerful move back up to test the resistance zone. So we'll be watching that in that low 90,000, 92, 93, 94,000, 95,000, that range right in there, the low 90,000 range to mid 90,000 range at 95,000. Again, that's where we're likely headed. We have a bottoming signal here, went a little bit lower, but you still really nice divergences in the daily time frame, and that's now giving us this reversal. Again, I talked about, again, the triangle. Well, it evolved into this bull flag, and now it's breaking out with this session right here. Again, we've got to see a test of the resistance zone up here with these highs over here, and then eventually to move above that. But you got a boatload of resistance up in the low 90 to mid 90,000 area. Now in the high 80,000 range, and again, likely moving towards this next level of resistance. As I'm making the video, Bitcoin's continuing to rally. The session is in the final half hour here, and Bitcoin is up 5.19% at the moment. Again, you got the bull flag. Bitcoin dropped 30%, but again, people think it's the end of the world. Bitcoin's forming a bull flag going into its rising trend line from the 2023 low. And again, we're coming up here to the 50. We're coming up to the trend line, to resistance, and then you'll probably pull back or break above it and back test one or the other, or come up to it and pull back and then break above it. Either way, you're going to go higher. And again, we could see the rally on into April and May, could drag out on into the summer. It's very, very possible we're going to go to 135 to 145,000. Continue to talk about this, and again, now we're getting back above that 200. Bitcoin's going to get a powerful, powerful move back up. In my opinion, I am extremely bullish on Bitcoin. I am very, very bullish down at these lows surrounding our 200 period. When we first tagged it and down here under it, very, very bullish on Bitcoin because I think a bottoming process has completed. At the momentum line bullish, we got the impulse line bullish here. Now we're getting another arrow here. Again, we're likely going to see momentum turn into the positive region for Bitcoin. You got the bottoming signals, the momentum turning bullish. Now you're going to see the trend signals begin to turn to bullish. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. I think before the end of the week, you could see momentum turn into the positive region here. The rally I've been warning you about is now happening. Got to get into the positive portion of the cloud to come up here and test this level. We probably push up into it and then pull back. In all likelihood, either pushing up above this area to break the downward trend line or stall at the trend line, one or the other. But again, got to get the momentum here in positive territory. That's likely going to happen here before the weekends and maybe in the next day or two here, maybe in the Thursday or Friday session, maybe Saturday. But probably before then, very well could have it in tomorrow's session. We're about to end the Fed session right now, the Wednesday session, and move on into the Thursday session at the moment. We'll need to see all the signals begin to turn back to bullish one by one. Bitcoin's up 5% right now, just over 5%. We'll see if we get that close here in the next few minutes with the close of the Wednesday session above the 220. And then we'll be looking for a follow through up into this area here and to test the resistance zone on up here. So that's what we're going to be watching for next. I remain extremely bullish on Bitcoin. And again, it's likely we are now confirming this as a bottom. And we are now closing. Looks like we're going to close in a few minutes from now above the 200 period moving average. If the sound was off and not the best, I'm sorry. I've got a new cord, the high quality one I wanted. I had to order it online, so hopefully they'll get that to me as ASAP here. They'll get it to me ASAP. Apologize for the quality of the video. Thanks for understanding. Bullish things are happening. The RSI is coming up here to the 50, trying to inch above it. We'll see if we can just surge above it here. I think we will. If we could get the MACD in positive territory, that would be really, really bullish for Bitcoin.